Why would a drug dealer add fentanyl to a drug? Every time this comes up, there are so many people who have no idea about drugs but are answering, no, it's not added to just any drug to make it more powerful. You don't make an upper like Coke more powerful by adding a strong downer like Fent. No, it's not added to anything to make it more addictive. That's just stupid. It's purposely cut into downers like heroin because it's cheaper. Or fake prescription downers are made with it. Or sometimes it gets into other stuff, like Coke, due to cross-contamination because the dealer didn't clean their scales when switching from weighing up their Fent product to weighing up their Coke. It's not some weird plan to sell cheap yet powerful cocaine that is extra addictive. That's just stupid, and anybody saying anything like that really has no clue and shouldn't be trying to answer the question. There is a two-part episode on the podcast search engine on this https. There can also be cross-contamination. It doesn't take much fentanyl, so if they are using the same scales without cleaning it will contaminate their other drugs. Fentanyl is highly effective and safe narcotic when used in a controlled environment. My wife fills fentanyl prescriptions all the time at the children's hospital to premature babies all the way up to 25-year-olds. A lot of the time shit gets mixed up on the scale. Don't listen to what everyone says. This is truly 90 of it. They are just lazy and don't clean the equipment between batches. The podcast search engine did a two-part mini-series that looked at this question from a couple different angles. Rather than trying to recap it for you since I listened to it like 6 months ago, I suggest checking it out. The episodes aired in August 2023 and are titled Why Are Drug Dealers Putting Fentanyl in Everything Parts 1 and 2. One of the things that is lost on almost all of these responses is that while yes, there are dealers who will cut drugs with fentanyl, most of the time, it happens by accident. The same presses that are used to press cocaine or heroin or other drugs into bricks will be used to press fentanyl into bricks. This results in cross-contamination. The same people wrapping bricks of cocaine will wrap bricks of fentanyl, leaving fentanyl on the wrapping for cocaine, meaning they get it on their hands for some cross-contamination there. But it also leaves some residue on the wrapped brick itself. Then the same containers used to ship cocaine are used to ship fentanyl, leaving fentanyl residue in those containers. The same people will be unpacking those containers when they get to the destination country. Then the person getting the bricks to break it down to smaller packaging will use the same space for both. Again, more cross-contamination. This process will repeat typically at least once or twice before low-level dealers get the product they are selling. For most drugs, a few milligrams of heroin getting mixed in with a gram of cocaine, well, no big deal. But with fentanyl, a few milligrams micrograms being somewhere it was supposed to be can be deadly. I grew up in the 80s 90s. I'm honestly disappointed at the lack of times strangers have offered me free drugs compared to what I was taught to expect. I drove taxi around Toronto for the better part of a decade. I've driven a metric ton of dealers around. A lot of the answers in here are wrong. The reason it happens is because dealers are lazy and don't clean their scales. That's it, there isn't any other reason. They weigh this up, then they weigh that up, and bingo, you got a deadly mix in a baggie ready to go. As someone who used to occasionally buy cocaine, I've always wondered this same thing. Because there's no way in hell I would buy cocaine today. Fentanyl is everywhere. I was at a party with a cop debating cannabis before it was legal, and he would not let the laced weed go. I was like, nobody sneaks diamonds into the gold to make it heavier. When it's mixed with other downers like heroin, it's usually to reduce costs since fentanyl is extremely cheap in relation to its potency compared with heroin. When it's mixed with uppers like cocaine and ecstasy, it's usually cross-contamination from using the same workspace. Unless they are just trying to make speedball, in which case the reasoning for using fentanyl is again pretty self-explanatory. It makes the drug stronger for cheaper. Search Engine Pod did a really great episode about this. https://open.spotify.com episode 3 mk2gjn ilpbhhsrbjk nefasi equals 6 y 5 pen rrx gt0 gan kvu https://open.spotify.com episode 3 mk2gjn ilpbhhsrbjk nefasi equals 6 y 5 pen rrx gt0 gan kvu. The profit margin on fentanyl is huge. Some of them cut it with Fent because it's so strong that you can use less of the actual active ingredient and more filler. It can be done unintentionally because people simply don't wash their scales and the residue stays on it and runs into the other things they make, leading to them getting contaminated. Because it's cheaper. One of my favorite podcasts, Search Engine, has an excellent two-parter on this exact question. Well worth a listen. Fentanyl is cheap and potent, so they don't just cut drugs with fentanyl. They'll cut the drugs with something that looks similar. For example, mix some kind of white powder with cocaine or prescription pills and then add in the fentanyl to the mixture to make the cut drug mixture as strong as uncut drugs in order to make the cut mixture harder to distinguish.